Okay.
Hi.
Hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello.
I can hear you perfectly. Yes.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure it was good for the both of us. Wow. You're finally here.
I am finally here. Yes.
Finally, we did it.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you for being on here. Thank you for wanting to be on here. Thank you so much. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Bryce Rayen. I'm an actor, music artist, and content creator.
Mm-hmm.
I've been making music ever since I was 14, 15 years old. I've made music in like multiple genres, but I'd say that I'm more leaning into alternative pop category, electro pop category, indie pop category, whatever you may call it. And I am, in terms of acting, I am a stage actor and I am a film actor as well. And what does that just say? And I love making cool videos, cool music videos, and I just like making a lot of anything that is related to filmmaking.
Absolutely. What do you feel like you're best at?
What do I feel like I'm best at? Like if I need to like choose like one thing and like not do all of the other things, I think I might have to stick with like being a producer / performing artist.
Okay.
Out of it, like if somebody were just like to come up to me just like, okay, out of all of these three things, like you must pick one and you can't do anything else. I feel like because music making is something that I've been doing and have been certain of for like a very, very, very long time. Like I've been making music, or the music has been in my life for a very long time. I think my formal journey with music making started when I was a kid, when I was sent to like a music school for drums, because I remember this vividly. I remember this vividly. I'm watching Disney Channel, right? in the living room.
Okay.
And Jonas Brothers.
The Jonas Brothers, yeah.
The Jonas Brothers.
Amazing.
Come on. And I see, I don't remember who was on drums, but of like out of all of them, like who was singing,
it's probably
whoever.
Kevin.
Was it Kevin? Kevin is cool.
Kevin's cool.
And out of all of them, the guys who are singing, playing guitars, who catches my attention is the drummer. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is probably, and I'm assuming this guy is getting paid for doing this like very cool thing. Yes, he's not like at the front of everything, but he's making like this very loud sound, very like coordinated sounds. And I was like, I want to be that.
Yep.
This is so cool. So I was sent to a music school. It was like a local music school, whatever, with the drumming teacher. And out of everything, it's the funniest thing. Out of everything that I've expected to happen, of course, there were like all of these beginner drum lessons and everything where it's like coordination, whatever, whatnot. But the major focus of the drum program was playing xylophone.
The xylophone?
The xylophone.
So you know how to play the xylophone?
I do know how to play the xylophone. What is the one piece that
The xylophone. I haven't heard that in a while.
I don't know if I would consider it like a niche instrument, but it's not something that I would have expected, like at least from that point.
Yeah.
I would consider myself like being proficient in out of anything. Ironically enough, I can't for the life of me play piano well.
You can't play piano?
like when people just like sit down and they're just like whatever on the piano. I can't, like I can probably like give
music?
you like
Can you read music?
I can read music, yes.
Dang.
But like in terms of like hand coordination of like
No.
I can give you like chords, right? I can give you like
dexterity is
chords.
terrible.
Maybe I can give you like something like, but when it's just like, oh, like left hand being like completely independent with motion with the other hand. Ironically enough, being a drummer as well. But something with the fingers, I cannot do. But when it comes to like this,
it's too easy for you?
it's like, like this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's, I think it's just like ingrained.
Okay.
Like it's just like rigorous,
It's just natural.
it's the cliche of the music. have you ever watched the movie Whiplash?
Yes. Yeah.
It's kind of like in that manner of just
Okay.
like, oh, drumsticks, like I'm playing wrong, drumstick is flying towards me.
fair.
Yeah. I mean, that's just how it is. And just something that I can do with like with piano specifically. So coming back to the xylophone, I feel what's the pieces that I'm trying to remember? The Flight of a Bumblebee and I think it's either Dance with the Sabers or Saber Dance, something
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
That thing. It's oh my god, I don't wanna. It's Khachaturan, I believe the name of the composer is. It's the Armenian composer, and that's the piece that I've been trained on rigorously.
So you know, like, the back of your hand.
Yeah, with like that, and I feel if like I would have like a solid a few hours just to like rehearse it, I would be able to.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm so confident about this right now, but I feel like I would be able to just pick it up.
As you should be.
Yeah, but it's like specifically on xylophone. So it took me, when I got to actual drum kit, I was like, please, I've been playing the xylophone thing for like so long. Teacher, please, can't I please play the drum kit? And he's like,
Finally. All right, sure.
sure. But what you're gonna do is I am going to send you to the jazz division for our school, and you're essentially going to be our backup drummer, like with me.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what happened. Then I am kind of like quasi permanent like solution to the jazz band that's happening in the school, and I feel for a short period I was kind of disillusioned with music because it was just like a lot of it came to more like discipline. It was more like a discipline training than like a creativity
Yes.
opener.
Okay, I see.
And the fun part is for the entirety, I did tell you that I can read sheet music, right? For the entirety of everything that I've learned in the music school, I just memorized everything.
Okay.
The way I did it was not like I could like read music and just be like, oh, you know, and then give it to you. What I had to do is every time I would have to like sit at home and just like find the note, just like that's C and that's an F, and just like as it like compounds, I would just like try to figure it out, but then I would remember the hand motions. And so that way, when I was asked like, oh, did you learn this? Like, are you able to read this? I'm like, yeah. Meanwhile, I had to literally memorize like each step or like how each note sounds.
What they ask you to go out of order or something?
Well, we'll see. That's what the problem becomes. that's what we're just like, oh, can you play it from that? And I'm like, how does it go?
Remind me?
Remind me. And it's like, and the teacher would be like, it goes blah blah blah, blah, and I'll be like, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, wow. Wow. So
Yeah. So because I started to learn how to read music properly long after I actually started to make music. I feel because I always wanted to like make something of my own, but it started somewhere around when I was 13, and I would just start writing songs over the instrumentals of like the songs that I know. I would just like, do you know when you're listening to music and the lyrics you are listening to are like kind of like gibberish, like you're not entirely processing what this singer, like the tune is great, but then blah 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 blah, and it's kind of like gibberish at the back of your hand. So in order to make sense of whatever I'm hearing, I would just like make up lyrics,
okay.
and then it would be like, and sometimes the lyric that I would make up, and then I would look up actual lyrics. I'm just like, no, whatever like I have is like better, and then I'm like, oh, I can just like
That's actually
do
really
it like
cool.
this.
Wow.
So I started to like write essentially poems independently, just listening to like other people's music, but being like, oh, let me pretend that it's like all of this is gibberish and just like write over the beats when and like
Wow.
and with the flow. But then I was like, oh, but how do I actually like put all of this in like a proper form? So I started looking up beat makers and like beats online.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
And obviously I would go for the cheap ones.
I would
And-
just look up the ones on YouTube. They would just be like inspired by a certain artist, and then I'd just play that one.
or exactly like that. And I would then, because I did not know really a lot of like music production or like music making really, and even recording, I feel like the only knowledge that I had at the time about recording anything was because of I've been doing anime voiceover dubs
Okay.
as a kid, which was like it was a mixed bag. I don't know if like somebody is able to, if somebody finds it in like whatever time frame from now till like whatever future, if somebody is able to dig it up, I'm gonna cringe so hard
It's okay.
out of it. It was definitely my low point.
There's still videos of me on YouTube as a kid, or as a baby, and I don't know why I released those videos, but I
There
hope
you
they
go.
never find them.
Anyway, where was I? Recording,
Yeah.
right? So I started looking for like studios
Okay.
and to have like, engineer proper to like record me and everything.
Of course.
Then I go there, I like talk with the engineer. He's like cool. And I also have been like working with the guy. He also like produces stuff, and he, in my very, very early work, he would like give me like a few of his beats. But then I would be like, oh, what are you working in? And he's like, oh, I work in like FL Studio, and everything else is like kind of like not as intuitive. And I'm like, cool. So I ask for my parents as a birthday present to buy me after whatever how many months on my birthday to buy a licensed version of FL Studio, because I didn't want to have like a cracked studio.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to,
That's fair.
because the demo version is like you can't.
Yeah, but-
You can export the project, but you can't save the project. So you would need to, if you were like composing anything, then you would need to just like export it as is.
Yep.
Oh, and I didn't want to figure out GarageBand because I didn't have Mac.
Fair.
Yeah, so I had no option of like. Well, actually, I could have like done it on my phone, right? Like Steve Lacy style.
Yep.
But I was just like, no, I want like whatever this guy
Experience.
has had.
Yeah.
Whatever like I'm already familiar with. Plus, I think with GarageBand, I didn't like how the way you initially record is like you need to record it with like a tempo track. You just like you click on it and you need to play like MIDI style. And on FL Studio, what I saw, you can just like draw stuff and you have like the piano roll. And I was like, oh, intuitive, right? That's like the way.
Make your own.
Yeah, that's the way I could understand. And from that point onward, I just hadn't had any, like, I didn't want to spend any money on going to studios or whatever. I was like, okay, if I want to make this thing, then I would rather invest into like long-term solutions, right? I would rather say all of these money that I'm spending on like renting stuff or like renting spaces. I would rather, invest into like a really good microphone
course.
and like whatever is associated with, or invest like into a really good laptop, invest like into really good permanent
Necessary
infrastructure
equipment, yeah.
that I don't have to, it's just like there and it's there for forever.
Absolutely.
So that's exactly what I've been trying to do since like high school.
Okay.
I feel when my producer journey has started when I went to like another local studio. I went there and I was like, this is horrible. Like,
Why?
I don't want, it was because it's just like, I have 1 hour of figuring stuff out and make the track sound good. And it didn't, because it was like, oh, nothing that I've recorded and spent money on sounds good. So I surely it's not as difficult to figure it out on my own how to put all of this together.
Yeah.
And in practice, outside of like the means of like getting all of this stuff, because that was the like the biggest hurdle of like getting all this stuff and being more informed about which equipment you want to get.
Absolutely.
In retrospect, it wasn't as hard as I would have thought, but the biggest hurdle in music making, or I feel like in anything pertaining to art, is that for years it's just gonna be, you have to accept the fact that sometimes it may sound cool at the moment, but then it's a learning curve of like, you're just gonna have like objectively terrible stuff.
Yeah.
You're just gonna like
you want to be perfect, but you can't.
I recently listened to an EP that I put out on SoundCloud of like, just like, where I remember it was over quarantine 2020, and I was like, this is the perfect opportunity to lock in and like put this project out, everything by myself. I
self-produced,
self-recorded, self-everything, self-mixed. It's just like going to be my own thing, and I'm going to do it by myself. I come back to it. Sounds horrible.
It's okay.
It sounds horrendous. I can there was like a lot of potential with like ideas, right?
Is
like
that you starting off?
Yeah, it was. I definitely had a vision.
Yeah.
I definitely had a vision, and I still can like recollect of like maybe what's the way I was thinking about this, but then coming back to it years later is just like I'm like already like somewhere else. Like I've already had like, there's like a visible jump from like the stuff that I've done. But I feel because of that particular EP and with association with that, I feel Bo Burnham's Inside.
Okay, cool.
Have had a really big impact for me as a music creator, because the whole premise of Inside is like he created the entire thing by himself.
Yeah.
And I was like, and when I watched it, I was like, wow, I can make everything by myself.
Yeah.
And while I think that it was really good for that particular moment in time where I was just like, oh, I wanted to, make everything myself and like learn everything myself, I feel that the converse, the negative quality to that is that I became too easily reliant on myself and not needing to learn how to actually communicate my vision properly to other people.
I see.
Because the easier answer would be, oh, I could just explain it to myself in my head and just like,
I know how it is. I would understand.
I know how to do this. I can just like do it. Why do I need like a help of like with somebody? Why do I need to explain to somebody else? Where just like I already have everything in my head. The camera's over there. The microphone's over here.
Know it. Yeah.
I already know. What would I need to do? But then the thing that I failed to realize is that Inside, what it is a great piece of art in itself, but also it took a very, very long time to do. And that because of that, it did have like, when I wanted to explain like, oh, what am I actually doing? What is actually my vision? What am I talking about with my art? And that's when it started to, that's when the cookie started to crumble.
Okay.
That's when I was like, oh, I can't make all of this stuff by myself, and I can realize this, right?
Yeah.
But when I want to take something and make something just like that takes outside of my capabilities, I need to talk to people.
At what point do you feel like you became more collaborative?
During college, really, I've had after the release of during high school, I released 2 EPs on SoundCloud. I also released them like on Apple Music or whatever, but I took it down because it's just like objectively terrible art, right?
Objectively is crazy. But
you should listen to it's like objectively terrible.
Oh, stop.
I feel it's to the point where my song Riverside was on the second EP, and I heard the chorus of it, and I was like, everything is like horrible, but like this is like there's like a little jam in there, and I had to rewrite the entire song
Okay.
to like it's into that being like another. There's like a demo of it that I had like 5 years ago.
There's redeemable aspects of it.
There are redeemable aspects of it, but it's a very, the execution was fairly weak because I did not know properly how to, read music or like how to understand music, like pitches wise or like chord wise or like anything. It was like, it's just like whatever I knew, whatever I could pick up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And when I actually started talking to people being like, oh, I want to up my game. Like I want to actually sing properly. I want to actually start learning about this stuff in the more like, I want to figure this stuff out. When this want became very apparent, I was like, I can either teach this by myself. I can either teach myself how to do this, and it's going to take me another how many years to do it, or I just have to bite the bullet and ask another person to either teach me or explain it to me, or there will be like some sort of like barter things going on, just like, oh, I can teach you to do this, can you teach me to do this kind of situation.
Absolutely.
And when I started to learn to be collaborative, I think I've had this realization that it's like, man, I cannot do this by myself. Was during my sophomore year of college. I had a period of time in between my senior year of high school to my freshman year of college where I was like kind of jaded.
Okay.
I have been writing songs and I have been like refining my craft, whatnot, but it just felt lonely.
Yeah. Okay.
And I did not know where I was going with it. So I was like, okay, there is not a ceiling to creativity, but there is definitely a ceiling of kind of like stretching yourself too thin on things. As much as I like to do all of the things by myself, right? There's certain things that where I'm like, oh, I want to focus really, or like I want to make this thing to do really well. So you need to bring other people on board into your team if you want, who are more capable or like who are striving to be like really great into like other aspects, such as, for example, making the music video look good, or shooting a music video well. You just can't do these things like by yourself.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, like we've shot Yuri's music video, which came out a few days ago of recording of this podcast.
Congratulations.
And I was looking back as I was editing, and I'm looking back on these shots, and I'm like, oh my God, it would have taken me like, you know what? Actually, no, I'm just going to say it outright. Like I wouldn't have been able to do these kind of shots if it wasn't like for you, like in your help and your vision and your cinematography. You know what I mean?
But you had the vision first. So you visualized those shots. So you knew what you wanted. You made it easier. But it's like the only reason why I shot those was because you had already kind of created that, what you wanted for the video and the themes and what you want the video to feel like. So I feel like you made it 10 times easier. So I feel like it would have been possible. It would have been possible. But I definitely understand that though, yeah.
Yes. But there is also what I've realized, which was really important, is sometimes when you do have the vision, it helps a lot to communicate it to somebody else, and that other person, and for that another person to interpret that vision in their own manner, and because it will lead to results that will be so much greater, or like will be something else that you were outside of the box of that vision. Because when you're just like, oh, I want this thing to look like this, but then you just go, oh, it looks like this, or just like, oh, let me figure this out, and then when you present it, you go, oh, this is like, I like this so much more than from the like conceived idea, the initial idea that I've had. And I feel like from this kind of realization, it became like very, very important to me that, oh, I do like I loved all of doing all these things by myself. And it also kind of, to acknowledge this, it also kind of stems from ego of like, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can take, like, I
don't need nobody.
I don't need nobody. But then it just like, what I've realized, it just, not that this like is inefficient.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about that, but it is about the creative process being more in a state of flow. If we take creativity in the metaphor of water,
Mm-hmm.
the way it is easier to make waves when you are in a company of the people who are in this vision
Mm-hmm.
than to try to create waves by yourself.
Mm.
You may be able to create some currents, you may be able to create some ripples,
Not gonna be
but
strong
if you
enough.
want to create some storm, it takes
Okay.
a village.
Okay.
And that's the valuable lesson that I've learned of just like you, even if one is capable
Mm-hmm.
of doing everything, it would be not only counterproductive, but it also limits oneself or like that person, that team with the vision. It limits themselves only in their framework
Okay.
of creativity, and bringing in more people expands it.
Yeah.
And that's something that was just like a very hard knock on my door,
Yeah.
being like, oh, there's an ocean of stuff, of like untapped creativity that people can bring on, or if you just like are able to communicate whatever you are thinking and be receptive and be open
Mm-hmm.
to all of the other ideas that are coming away in this like flow state,
Mm-hmm.
that's when the actual work of true art, true creativity begins. And I feel much more elevated than just like, like putting a phone somewhere and just like recording a music video or whatever, being by myself. Because
Absolutely.
sometimes when you do it by yourself, it is very lonely to do so.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is my current objective in music making and art making,
Mm-hmm.
is to put myself in the position to feel less lonely,
Yeah.
and to find the people who share this idea of like, oh, I want to be great at this.
Yeah.
Like I want to make cool stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I remember recently Timothée Chalamet
Mm-hmm.
has had, what was it, SAG Awards,
The
when he
SAG Awards. Yeah.
yeah
Greatness.
when he had that speech of like, oh, I do strive to be great.
Yeah.
And while some people interpreted that as like being like pompous,
Which makes no sense.
and like a little bit like too pushy, but I feel it's honest.
It's what anyone would want. I feel like when you're creating art, obviously you want to create, but you have the intention of, hey, if I'm creating, I want to be the best at this. I want to be the best at my craft and my art, and I want to be considered the greatest. So I don't understand where the controversy came from, because it's like that's just an honest feeling. Like that's what we strive for every day.
I feel if you want to strive, how I interpreted this is, it's not greatness because like I want to be like this big omnipotent celebrity person,
yeah.
big whatever,
No.
and I want the glory all by myself.
Yeah.
But it's also about the pushing our understanding
Mm-hmm.
of what good art is, and trying to push this boundary of creativity to like the next level,
Yeah.
trying to get to a point of the wow, and also the realization that I've contributed as much as I could
Yeah.
in this as much as I was able into this project for this thing to be great. And I feel like a lot of people, especially with Timothée Chalamet's work, it's not only because I feel like he is like very popular, but because he does bring himself above and beyond to get into whatever role he is doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? What is your favorite actor actually? Who is your favorite actor?
Timothy is up there right now. It's Timothy Chalamet, Denzel, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Daniel Day-Lewis, Adrian Brody, Al Pacino, Leonardo DiCaprio. That's my guy. But yeah, Timothy Chalamet has been kind of the one that I've been kind of recently. He's been like, he's been that guy. So yeah.
I've recently watched Conclave.
Fantastic
Actually,
film.
yesterday night. It was great.
Fantastic film. Yeah.
Ralph Fiennes is great.
It's wonderful.
And you know what the other movie that I've watched? And I remember watching this movie as a kid.
Yeah.
And I have always thought it was like a really good film.
Yeah.
But then I rewatched it recently and I'm like, this is, if not it's probably one of the best movies that I've ever watched.
Whoa.
It is so colorful. It is so innovative. And the acting, while camp, is also very sincere. And I feel like every person who was on board did such a fantastical job. And it's also it was so beyond the time when it was released because of what it was, and people, and even the critics who bashed the movie at first have returned to it to praise that movie because they did not initially understand. And that movie is Speed Racer.
I haven't, it's funny that you say that because I have not watched Speed Racer, or I guess I haven't watched it in a long time, so I don't remember anything about it. But anytime I've seen that come up on social media or whatnot, it's always the most positive thoughts and being like, it was so misunderstood and it was so, like you said, ahead of its time and whatnot. And so I need to watch it, but I've seen there's been a lot of positivity around that film recently. Speed Racer.
I mean, I enjoyed it as a kid because like, big colors on the big screen, that kind of stuff.
Looks freaking amazing.
It looks freaking amazing. But then when I watched it again with a more like critical eye of like what is like actually happening on the screen, and then I watched a few video essays about it, I was like, no freaking way Wachowski were able to do it.
Man.
Because we know them because of The Matrix.
Of course.
And with this piece being like very grimy, very like boundary pushing.
They're so talented.
But then to say, oh no, everything that I see is like the product of what we already made. I want to go, like, I'm going to make it 180 and I want to go full colorful, whatever. And when I start analyzing the shots of like, it's a shot within a shot, which is a match cut to another shot, which is within a bigger shot altogether.
You're making me want to watch this right now.
It's such a great movie.
You're making me want to watch this right now.
During the final sequence, I'm not a big movie crier. I think the last movie that like made me genuinely, that I was like bawling in the theater, was The Whale. And I've recently rewatched Speed Racer, and during the final sequence, I'm like my face was like drenched in my tears.
I love when films are so euphoric that you gotta cry. It's just even the positive or negative emotion. You're just like, this is just so overwhelming. I love that
because even there are moments in this movie where it's just like, the cliche of like, you do this, you can do this, or like the very like the suspenseful that is like kind of camp. But from acting standpoint, everybody is doing such a good job of what is seemingly like a cliche moment to make it so sincere of like,
so
oh
genuine.
my God, there are actual stakes of...
This is genuine.
Of corporations, legacy, family.
This is not a game. No.
It's not just like a game. It's not just,
it's not fiction, no.
This racing, whatever.
That was good. Damn. Okay, damn.
Speaking of racing,
that was good.
Hold on. Let me do my best Formula One impression. Hold on.
Are you serious? When did you know you could do that?
I was a very weird kid.
When did you find out you could do that?
I was a weird.
What the?
Growing up,
That was cool as heck.
One of the things that people did not like about me, and was like one of the things that people would pick on me in school, is that first I couldn't like sit still, and I always had to do like with the pencil.
Oh, okay.
Just like stop,
Just on the desk.
and everybody knew that I was like the drummer, so just like stop. The drumming is for during the drumming.
Please
class.
relax, please.
Yeah,
Thank you.
which I couldn't understand really, and I always like to do the. Like I'll make all of these like, oh, what is like
My brother did that. Yeah.
like what am I like what sounds can I make essentially? But then as it also like coincided with me learning how to drum, it also then I'm like, oh, I can do the, and it kind of sounds like a drum. Then I can do like, and it kind of sounds like a snare. And what if I put this together and I go and that's where I get like, and that's what led me to be also in an a cappella group.
Talent. Yes.
Because it's just like, oh, I can do this like cool, weird thing of like, and then a good friend of mine, Tom, we were in the same acting class, and it was like, you should audition for my a cappella group. We are looking for a beatboxer. And I'm like, sure, why not?
And y'all crushed it.
Yeah.
For the showcase last in December.
Thank you so much.
That was wonderful.
We have also our final showcase on May 1st.
Wow.
Yes, it's going to be my final show.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah. And we're
on
also performing tomorrow during the Festival of Books.
Oh, wow.
Here.
Oh, you guys are performing at the Festival of Books?
We are performing at the Festival of Books on the main stage.
Oh,
yes.
that's amazing. On the main stage?
On the main stage.
Wow.
As far as I'm aware. It's going to be a medley of very, very cool songs.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And
y'all are awesome.
I also racing. I've been to a few Formula One.
Haven't been to a
race.
single one.
I really underappreciated when I got the opportunity with my parents to go to one of these.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, oh, this is like boring. Let me like, because essentially what happens is sometimes like cars go, but then at all like the majority of the time you just like look at the screen and you look at the stats, and I couldn't really understand the stats. I couldn't really understand the stakes. I couldn't really understand like, oh, who am I like rooting for? Why is there two of them? You know, because there's like there's two races per team, right? And recently, like a year ago, I like really got into Formula One.
I had a friend recently, Justin, who's been talking about F1, and he is absolutely obsessed. And I want to get to that level of obsessed.
It's once you get into it, it's me and Nina. We were sitting at home, and there is like a show, which is like one of the reasons why Formula One got popular big time, is Drive to Survive series by Netflix. We watched this and we're just like, we are so obsessed. This is like the Housewives of like Beverly Hills, right? Is that the show?
Sure.
Housewives of Beverly, like,
sure.
but like one of those shows, which like a very like gossipy, like Dance Moms, essentially. But it's like with like these guys who are like racing on the track of like, and pushing essentially their bodies to absolute limit. And it was so much drama, but it was also so great because you can understand the stakes of each unique player in this game, whether they're like winning big time, or they're like a rookie just got here, or they've been here for years, but they're just like, you know, somewhere like at the end of the pack, and you understand all of like where they're coming from and like what their story is, what their like storyline is. And it's just like, when you put this in the context of the sport, it just becomes so great. And the same thing happened with me with soccer. Big time. I was also a big time soccer fan. I feel like if I've invested so much time into music making, I think like number 2 activity
for real?
that I've done was like play FIFA as a kid.
Bro,
I was day and night.
FIFA's fun. I was always I'm just play 2K and everything, and my friend, my boy Tim, got me playing FIFA, and ever since I just been hooked playing that game. And also, I went to like a match. I forgot, it was like some championship match, and it was in Vegas, and it was at Allegiant Stadium. I forget what it was, but ever since I've kind of just been like, now I know. But whenever I have this thing, it was like I will get passionate about a sport as soon as it's like something happening. So like the Dodgers winning the championship, now I kind of just keep up with baseball. And like tennis, Serena or whomever, Coco Golf, I'll be obsessed. And so same thing with with soccer, where it was like also Messi going to Inter Miami.
Yes,
I was following from that point on, and otherwise, and so yeah, same thing.
The scene of soccer in the United States is like, it's a little bit messy. I feel that the sport is...
Did you really just make that joke? Did you really just make that joke?
Yes, I saw it from like 5 miles ahead. I feel like the popularity of the sport in the United States is like at an all-time high.
Absolutely.
Is an all-time high. And that's me I was born in Russia, and I've like traveled all around Europe, and the culture around soccer is like, oh, that's the like de facto number 1 sport.
Yeah.
Like, not only there's like a lot of fans, and the culture of behind the sport is like this.
Yeah.
It's also when the big national tournaments happen. When the big national tournaments happen, everybody just like drops whatever they're doing and just just like watch and keep up with everything that's happening, like with the team, with the national team, especially if it's like the Euros or like the like whatever the continental championship or like the World Cup.
Yeah,
everybody's just like hooked into that particular world for like a period of time. But initially, when I came to the United States, I saw MLS, which was like, oh, this is like the only thing that exists here. And it has like its own unique properties where in like a regular league we have like, I'm just like throwing numbers at the air. You have like 20 teams, and number 1 gets the cup.
Yeah.
Then the other ones go to like like 3 international cups, depending on like where they land, from like 1 to 6, 7 sometimes.
Okay.
And then the bottom 3, they go to a league below.
Okay.
Where it's like, this is like the main big boys league. There's like goes down, goes down, goes down. It's called like a pyramid. And if you go down low enough, you become a semi-professional club. And if you go high, and if you cross the bridge from like being semi-pro, you become a pro club. And that's also like the other battle. Here with MLS is because of like how economically it's set up similarly to like NBA or MLB, NFL. It's I forget what's the proper term for the franchises.
Yeah.
There are franchises. And there is no system of relegation and promotion in the United States based sports, which, as somebody who is used to this stake being, if you get relegated to a lower tier, it's less money for your club, it's less exposure for your club. It's kind of like, it's a point of genuine disappointment for the club and for the fans to go down a league because you're no longer in the big league.
Yeah.
Here, it's like there are a lot of personal stakes that come into this. That's the way I understand, by the way, because maybe I'm saying this from perspective of like, oh, I understand this, and this is now me like seeing this.
I didn't realize how passionate you were about this. I
I'm
had
very
no
passionate
idea
about this. And when I looked at like, for example, MLS, and just like it's set up very much interestingly because like there's like because the United States is a big country, and it's split like as every other league to East and West. And you can become the champion of East and West in the league, but then you also have this like cup, and then you compete for the cup and just like everybody's game for like from whatever position you are. But what I guess kind of like frustrates me a little bit, I understand why economically, and I do understand why the stakes on like personal level, because like a player can only play and win only so much in their career, but as a person who has watched the sports with like stakes of like, oh, if we lose a lot, you're just like, you're out, you're out.
Yeah.
When it came down to that, and I got familiar with the saying like, all right, boys, better luck next time. And especially if your team is like at the bottom of the league.
Yeah.
My first impression when I, for example, got into NFL, and so, like, I don't remember what team exactly, but they like finished last, and I was like, oh no, this team is gonna like get relegated. But where are they getting relegated to? And nobody knew what I was talking about. So it was like relegation, as in like, do they go to the tier below? And everybody's like, what tier below? It's just gonna be like the next season. I'm like, what do you mean? And from that point onward, it's one of the aspects of like, I don't feel as invested into like NFL because, well, like in any other sport which doesn't have the like promotion relegation thing, but it's like a team sport with a promotion or relegation, because of like that stake that it's like not only there are like personal stakes, but they're also stakes like of the club as like an entity.
Yeah.
Because if you fail long enough, the club can just dissolve.
Of course.
You can.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You can go, for example, if we'd say like an English soccer pyramid, which like English football, soccer, whatever. I'm not getting into that discussion. If you go down, if you fail so much and you go from, you're in the Premier League, then you go into something called the Championship, which is like the tier 2. Then if you fail again, you go into League 1. If you fail again, you go into League 2. And that's where it becomes important. Because from League 2, if you fail again, you go to the National League. But what's up with the National League? National League is the semi-pro league. If you go down all of these steps, this is no longer a professional club. You don't get as much like finances into your club unless you can like get, for example, Wrexham. They got picked up with the Ryan Reynolds and what's his name?
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
It's funny when whatchamacallit, well, like I know his face, but everybody that I know just like, oh, it's Ryan Reynolds and and you. I'm so sorry.
Apologies.
Damn. Ryan Reynolds, Mint Mobile. I don't know.
But I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and like they were able to like invest into the club so much. That's why it's like it's doing really good.
Yeah.
Unless somebody like a big investor,
a huge
can
fan.
knock on your door, being like, "Hey, you're like, I want to invest like
I
so
wanna
and so
support your team,
like into your team." And otherwise, if you like keep failing, you may become like a non-club. There's like another team. There's like one of the teams that I watched a video essay about, and just like they just dissolved. No money.
That's crazy.
They just dissolved.
That's crazy because that would never happen in America.
Yeah, and I mean, like I don't know exactly. Another concept actually is that kind of like boggled my mind is that you can just like, when it was like, why is like the LA Lakers called LA Lakers? Because they were the first located near the Great Lakes, right? And I was like,
Minneapolis Lakers.
yeah. And at first I was like, oh, that's interesting, but aren't there like fans from there, and now they moved it from here, and now there is like another team in baseball that's moving from like Oakland to like somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I never quite understood that. There is an interesting story with a club called AFC Wimbledon, who got bought out by investors, and they were like, "Oh, let's just do like how we do it here, right? And just move it to a different city, and we call it something else, MK Dons." And the fans were like, "No, this is our club, lol. You can't do that, LMAO."
Lol.
And the investors were like, "What are you gonna do about it?" So what they did about it is they created a club from ground zero, got promoted through like all of the like amateur. I'm kind of like I'm fuzzy on the details here, but essentially, the highlight of the story is that they got to the same league as the club MK Dons, who got like bought out by investors, and that's one of the like beauties of soccer that I see of like soccer stories, is that how much local and global community based it is. Because what I feel like, and it also pertains to like arts communities and communities overall, of how we are connected right now, is also connected to my personal feelings of like loneliness in the arts world. Is that with the hyper individualization of like, you need to market yourself, and all of these like highlights and priorities on being like you, me, like promotion of the self brand, like all of this kind of stuff, all of the era that was popular in 2010s of like focus on your personal brand, focus on like your ethos, whatever, whatnot. And I feel like somewhere along the way, we had lost the sense of like not only how to organize properly as a community, but not only that, but as an arts community as well. Because it feels as though everybody's just like kind of doing their own thing, and everybody's kind of like
focus on themselves.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a freelancer.
I want to prove myself.
But when it comes to just like, that's why Brockhampton, when it came about, was so great. While everybody was like so stoked about that idea, because it is almost like a fairy tale story for us to kind of like put our personal egos a little bit, on the back corner, and to be like, I've got these guys who we may not have like a perfect concrete vision of we want to be, but what we do know is that we want to be like a great boy band, and we want to put out cool music videos.
Yeah.
And we have the guys in that. We want cool producers, and we have guys in that. And we have cool performers, and we have guys in that. And that all coming together and creating that community and creating a broader community was something special when it happened. And then it kind of like fizzled out. Yeah. And we have more, whatchamacallit. No, we have like more bands right now, and we have like more like individual artists like myself. But even within that, I feel that there is currently a big lack and almost in like an apprehension to create communities based on that. And that's one of the reasons why
It's very rare.
It's very rare. And if it does, it happens. You know what I mean? But it's not as in like, like let's get together and create a collective. It's more like, we are just like, we are collaborating. Yeah. Which is a little bit different when it's, something even to go a little more back, like Odd Future would be another example. Where just like, yes, it's like standalone guys, right? And have their own thing going on. But they are able to also make it a priority to create this community, create this movement. Yes. Of like, these are the primary values on which we stand on, of like, I want to be unabashedly myself, and I want to create all of this like kind of left field kind of stuff that is we have not like seen either prior before. And that's why it resonated with so many people. And in my personal take, as of right now, going into like the year of our Lord 2025, we have lost this notion even more.
That's fair.
Like even from that. And I don't necessarily know why, but it does explain, for example, why I'm also so into lenient soccer, or like because it provides you with this like, oh, I like this thing here. There is my immediate community because of like this thing, right? Because I like soccer and I like this particular team. Oh, here are the people who also like this particular team. We have our own little club. We have like own little whatever. There's like even in LA there are pubs who organize get-togethers just to watch and just to watch clubs, whatever, whatnot.
Yep.
Clubs play, that is. And I think that's great, but we need to really, really bring this back into the art world, specifically into music. Because somewhere along the way, the building of like a concrete community kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to, it doesn't have to be perfect, but something that is concrete, that is with primary, secondary, and whatever the members that want to be great at their thing, put them all together and have an ethos, have a mission, have what do we stand for, what do we want to make, how do we want to be known, like what is this, like why should people care, and what values do we want to bring that are missing in the zeitgeist right now, and just do something really. And this is what I feel like we are to reiterate, this is what I feel like we're missing right now.
Well, how do we go about fixing that?
How do we go about fixing that? Personally, I feel like it's a little bit hard right now because there's a lot of question marks
going on right now,
and issues going on at the end, and everybody is more like preoccupied with understandably so, right? Like I cannot blame somebody to be like prioritize yourself, right? Because like you only have like one life, and obviously if I'm just like, do you want to make like whatever, and I don't have like a solid vision and I don't have like solid whatever, even if I did, it's still also, I understand the apprehension behind that idea because it's also like time and effort.
I feel like that would still intrigue me. I feel like getting to this point where we had the resources to create, I'm like, if anybody were to come to me for a collaboration like yourself, I got to be game, regardless of, it's not something that I've done before. I'm like, I've at a point where ideas I didn't think were possible, I'm able to kind of tap into that. So why wouldn't I want to, some random opportunity, you never know what could happen out of it. And because of the first music video, and the second one came out of it, and that was even cooler. And so it's like, I feel like collaboration shouldn't be apprehensive for people. I don't know. Yeah, people are way too focused on themselves right now, I would say. People are, I would say myself too, where I'm like, I want to create my own projects, and I'm so focused on it. And like you said, I'm so narrow-minded that sometimes you got to be like, okay, why don't you just take a step back and, meet with people and connect. And the whole point of creating is so that you got all these different spaces, you can, all these different exchange ideas, or I don't know. Yeah. I completely agree with that. Yeah.
I feel that I once again very much agree with you. But once again, to make something possible and to make something great, you need to bring a lot of people on board.
Absolutely.
But also what I've touched on at the very beginning is that as a byproduct of that,
Yeah.
the perfectionism must go like out the window as like a given, just like whatever.
Oh,
All of the which
that was a pain.
am I right? And all of the notions of like, oh, we may not figure it out, or like I don't really know if I want to invest into this, or like I want to take like a safer route. It's understandable, but at some point, because I also feel like with the access of TikTok and everybody's like, oh, because I was also very much within this notion of like, if I post like and collaborate with people like for long enough, and I like post, and I put myself in the position, personal brand, whatever, figuring myself out, then I will be able to have this like viral moment, and then everything is going to figure itself out eventually.
Yeah.
Right. And then like, oh, I'm going to be like, get like picked up by the label, and then I'm going to be like picked up by all these other people. Then I'm going to be like knocks on the door, and everything is just going to be like, like a fairy tale, whatever, whatnot. But then then I was 19. Now I am 22 and I have an honorary Onyx status. And I've been doing this like TikTok and putting myself out there, whatever, for 3 years now, which is a considerable amount of time. Not to say that it's like, you never know how these like things do happen.
But you've invested your time in it.
But I've invested my time, and I'm just like, at some point, you need to, you come about saying yourself a question of like, what am I doing these things for?
Yep.
And what's my mission? And why should people care? And is there anything, and most importantly, is there anything that I can do about this that is different from what I'm doing, but is still very much is a product and is like my child, right? And
that's interesting.
While I am very much, like this with my work, where just like there's like a lot of ego and like preciousness, being like, this is my, this is my art. My precious.
This is my precious art.
Yeah, this is my precious art. At certain points, I've kind of became more relaxed about it. Because the more you like kind of do this thing, the less precious it becomes. Because like, then it's like, oh, it's my first, it's my first EP, and it's like, oh, this is my second EP, and there's like, this is my third EP. Why is nobody, whatever? And then you become more.
It's my fourth EP.
Like,
guys,
it's my fourth EP. Hey, what's up?
Check it out.
Then you become more like relaxed about it, because it becomes more of a working routine.
Absolutely.
And I feel like I'm at this point where I've realized just like, oh, I don't want to bet on this like magical moment swooping me up and putting me like in the...
I have fallen guilty to that several times.
Into the like most advantageous position, because we have seen that happening. But the problem with that, while it's also an amazing idea of just like, I can post something great and then just like my life is going to change forever.
Nowhere.
Like
Overnight
out of nowhere, overnight. And then, here's the contract, here's the tour, here's whatever. Completely changes. And while this story is great, it is also what I found myself, what I've recently found, the realization that I had, it's almost like playing casino.
Yeah.
You
never know.
You never know. Yeah.
And there is no strategy. There is no...
Sometimes you win, but sometimes you win like marginally.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've had a few I'm going to be frank. I've had a few videos that like still have like their little moments, right? I've done a few covers that are great.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I'm like, man.
Yeah.
Like I've recently had a song go over 1,000 streams on Spotify.
Awesome.
And while it was like a great moment, then it's like, and then you need to wake up the next day.
Yeah.
And then you need to, still
keep
do this
going.
hassle and the grind and whatever, and be all of this in your head. And I'm just like, this is just like devastating to my mental health. Right?
Absolutely.
So What I feel like I want to figure out and I'm graduating this university in like a few weeks.
I would love to do that.
The aspect, while there's like quite a few things that, thank you so much for this university for providing us with this beautiful
Very
podcast.
grateful. Thank you so
But
much.
there's like,
this is amazing.
but there's also, for something to be great, there also needs to be like objective critique
Mm-hmm.
of things that are not doing so great if you want things to be better, which I will hold on to because that's not the point that I'm going into. But the thing that I'm kind of like, is a little bit anxiety inducing for me right now is that university automatically provides you with a community of people that are like-minded.
And so what happens if you leave that community?
It's kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
It is almost putting me in this like survival freeze state.
I see.
That's to exaggerate how I feel about this, but it's also like, where is the, where is it going to be like that source where
How
I can
is
just
this
like
going to continue?
meet, like how can I move on, right? And my idea is right now, like, not that I myself need to, this is too heavy of a burden, but I need to figure myself out in terms of how can, everybody talks about like the Trojan network, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it is also going to be very, very important for me right now to surround myself with like-minded people with like-minded goals
Mm-hmm.
and
aspirations and ambitions.
just be behind some form of entity. Because being a lone warrior in the tackling, like, against
It's courageous.
the windmills, and it's courageous, and we've heard the stories of the
I had to do this
big
journey
and
alone.
of like I went through this tale
know,
alone, and it was
I was alone for
it
years.
was
for
for decades. It was I had to work so hard,
this all myself.
but then I persevered, and finally I am at the top of this mountain. But then at the same time, you can just do something, open up some sort of company and be like, hey guys, I want to do this thing, and let's just it's gonna be like a very loosey goosey, and we do need to put our egos at the back corner, and like we still have all of our priorities. But if we do want to create something, it needs to be like something constant. So maybe we should organize at least like on whatever level we can, and act behind some sort of like entity, meaning collective. Because also looking back to all of these like big actors like Stanislavski and like so on and so on, they've all, while we point out them as like the big leaders, the revolutionaries of like acting and whatnot, we also need to realize, more importantly, that they were not able to become that because like they were like so great of a director and so great of an actor, but because they had a entity behind them. For example, Stanislavski, I'm losing the proper names here of these like collectives, but they were in a collective of like-minded individuals which wanted to do one thing, and that's how they became. They had not had become great because they were just like they're just like super duper talented, but it's because they were in a environment of the people with the grit and passion for a particular thing, where they were able to contribute their ideas into that thing, and then their name has able to gain that reputation over time, and it takes a really, really long time. But before that, what we failed to realize is that before all of these big names, they were just the names of the theater companies. They were just the names of like very local things and effort of like of a few people that was like not idyllic. It was messy and chaotic, but in order to get to this greatness, I feel it is to one's advantage not to act alone, but to act as a collective, to talk to your peers. And while it's also great to, talk to people who are like maybe like next level or like the level above that, but it's also very important to understand like where you are and find people who are on the same plane as you are, get together and go up.
Absolutely. Rather than trying to connect with those who are already there or already ahead and have or a completely different, I guess, level rather than you, and trying to not cheat your way, but just trying to, connect with them and being like, okay, that's a shortcut.
Yeah.
That's my way forward.
Not that it's like a bad thing and not that I'm like bashing people who do this, because it is a way. There is not a concrete way
There's
to
no right
do
way to
things
do it.
of like, if you do this, then it's like, whoa, you have lost the plot. No, but it's one of the ways that I feel in the society where we feel quite lonely. Yes. We feel quite isolated. We feel like we cannot connect to, I don't know all of the names of my neighbors.
Yeah.
It's to the point where I do not know who lives to me next door. It's to the point where it's common not to talk to your roommates. Where just like, where I've seen countless times just like, oh, we just like exist together. You know what I mean? Like I've seen countless stories of just, we just happen to live together. We need to like make rent, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel,
man,
that is just so kind of sad. And
that we're so isolated
because it's also a product of just like, focus on like here.
Social media.
And it's also the problem of like, we feel so connected right now that maybe it kind of, this is like a big assumption I'm making here. We are so connected right now, yet because we are so connected, we're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like I have this like thing like 24/7 in my head. You know what I mean?
It's constantly on your mind.
I can't. I'll do the dishes. Okay, yeah. That kind of thing. That we are more preoccupied like with our matters because we are like so overstimulated with the connection that is like
all the first world problems. We think everything's the bane of the world.
Yeah, but at the same time, as somebody who grew up in Sochi, and Sochi is one of those. It's not an ideal city because it is in Russia, and
okay, all right, sure. I wasn't expecting that, but sure, okay.
But
Russia, cool.
But at the same time, I grew up in a city where it was common that to connect with other person, you just say, "Do you want to go out tonight?"
Yeah.
And you would live so fairly close to the proximity, and you would have so much access to the public transportation, and everything is just like so more compact. The city is over there. The mountains are over there. The train is over there. Hey, friend from like the neighboring city, do you want to like hang out, whatnot tonight? And when they say yes, I'm just like, sure, I'm going to hop on this train. I'm going to go to your neighboring city and we're going to hang out there. And then I'm going to go back onto this train, go there, take a bus back to home. And like, then just like, if I feel like it, let me go to like the market because I need to get some groceries and just like, okay, let me walk there. And just like, I feel so, I need to like get refreshed. Let me walk to the beach. Let me walk to like somewhere else. And there's a lot of cars in the city, obviously, because like which city doesn't have a car? But also it's to have the option and the liberty to just like not...
To be able to do that.
To be able to do that. Meanwhile, like car is cool, right?
Yeah.
But to have the option of like, if I want to do something, will it take me forever and a half, or will it take me 15 minutes? Because when I wanted to go to mall in Sochi, when I lived there, it's like a 20-minute walk. But it's not like a 20-minute walk like in LA. Because a 20-minute walk in LA is just like you are walking through the suburbs and it's just like like, oh my. And it's like nothing.
ASMR
besides like
crazy.
burbs,
Wow.
it's like nothing.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, you are just like, you're kind of zoning out in between like point A to point B because you just want to get to point B. But when you live in the other circumstances, like the ones that I've lived in Sochi, and I'm kind of being like nostalgic here, kind of reminiscing. Sochi has a lot of its problems, but one of the problems that I did not experience was, for example, when I wanted to go to mall with friends, then we would be able to stop by like a pop-up cafe store, or maybe have like some other cool thing, just like, oh, whatever, let's go to this like random whatever, check it out, because you are able to do so. And I feel like it's so sad because LA is a great city, and a lot of cities in the United States are great cities, but they do lack this aspect of just like walk out the almost impromptu events, an impromptu kind of gathering to just like hang out. Because I think one of the culture shocks coming to the United States was just like, I need to schedule my hangouts. And not only do I need to schedule my hangouts, I need to know concretely what we're doing. I can't just like, oh, can I come over? And just like, and do what? Just like, I don't know, just like
I have
be
one
together.
friend that I probably just do that with. From just like, hey, I'll just come over, or can I just come over tonight? And he'd be like, yeah. 10,
Yeah.
10,
But once again,
bye-bye.
you need to also have the opportunities to like to meet these kind of people. And we're
That's
lacking.
true. Very true. That's very, yeah.
Because like how are you gonna get to like to that
How are you going to
point
get to that point where you can just come over, and they can
Yeah.
just come over and just be a vibe?
unless you can get to like
And also, literally,
Here.
if you hang out with each other, you're not doing anything. It was just a point where he says, hey, I just want to hang out, just be in this
Yeah.
space. Like, yeah, that's true. It's very rare to get to that point. Yeah.
I also have suburbs. I remember my first proper encounter with suburbs is that I stayed over at my family friends in Arkansas in a town called Jonesboro. And when I got there, my first was like, what I've noticed is like, oh, as we're going into like the burbs, I saw like a little store. And what surprised me is just like, when we got to their house, and I just like stayed over for like a week for a winter break because like I was waiting for the winter break to be over. And it's like, can I go to the store? And she's like, no, you can't. And I'm like, and it kind of like baffled. And then I'm kind of like baffled me, like, what do you mean I can just go to the store? It's like, there is no road. I'm like, what do you mean? So I kind of sneaked out. I sneaked out, and then and literally, not only was I like kind of low key lost because everything kind of looks the same. And everybody in this was just like desolate, besides like a car passing by. There was literally no sidewalk to the, to the store. And that's where I got like, wait, hold on. People live like this? And that kind of like, not to bash at anybody who lives in the suburbs, right? But it was just like a big culture shock from like.
That's a lot of America.
Because they're just like, oh, wait, this is like. This is the norm. Like this being in the city is like the exception here. What we get here in college is the exception here. That's why, for example, people miss college so much.
That's what scares me, because I don't want college to be my peak.
But you see what the problem is? It's because if you go anywhere else into like other society in other country, and I'm as a person who's telling you who like is from another country, who was born in a country who like is set up differently. This is what you're experiencing at the university is the norm, like in the good majority of the world.
Which is why I need to leave America, or I just need to travel more, because this is not. I don't have. I don't have a lot of, I feel like, life experiences, or like I've been in a bubble, I feel like, or several bubbles for my entire life. And there's people I know that have just kind of experienced everything. It's very frustrating. And it's like really eye opening. It's like, I have not experienced anything. Lived in the suburbs in Vegas, or kind of, and then in Los Angeles, living in the campus, and it's like I don't really have much beyond that, whether it be travel, whether it be communities or cultures or whatnot. And so it's like definitely kind of struggling through that right now. It's weird.
When you got to college, how was this? Like, because for me, when I got here, I was just like, oh my god, this is like a break from like what I realized how everything is set up. When you came to college and saw how the environment is set up, like the walkability, the everything, the community, how was that experience?
It was eye-opening. Plus, it was new for me because I had the freedom to do that. Whereas in Vegas, being with the family and kind of just staying inside the house, or if we left the house, it'd be as a family. And so for the first time, like independently doing stuff that I'd want to do, whatever, whether we go to the movies, going to the beach whenever I want to, or going on transportation, going to anywhere. That was the first time of being able to do any of that, and which was very cool. But also, you kind of limit yourself because you don't know what's possible, or you don't know everything that you can do. So you kind of limit yourself, and you're like, well, I can only do this, or I can only do that, or it doesn't really make sense for me to just go to some random place because I don't usually do that. But now getting to the point where I'm like, I probably should just go to random places, or just kind of be spontaneous as heck and just kind of do whatever. So it was definitely a learning experience, a very positive one at the start. I would say at the start it was very much it was necessary to see how different everything was. And now it's realizing how different everything was, but also realizing how you can get very comfortable and how you can get very complacent when it comes to a location, and how it's really necessary to kind of change it up and to want more, or to kind of need more experiences, or I don't know how to explain it, but like rather than just kind of staying to USC in that bubble and being okay with that, being completely, I guess, not okay with that, and being like, I need something different. I need everything to be different. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah.
I understand this notion because I'm kind of the same way. I remember vividly during my junior year, I was like, I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here. Not because like I did not like anything that was like happening in my life, and like I was like, the LA is like that city to be in.
LA
like
is the city,
this city, and that's kind of like the problem of like I got to that city, and I'm having a problem with that city because
Yeah.
And I'm getting.
I thought it'd be the solution to everything, and then now that I'm here, I'm like, okay, it is a solution, but it's not the solution. And now that I've seen LA, that now that I know it's possible, now I kind of want to see the freaking world, because it's like LA is one small thing, and it's so limiting. And now I'm like, it's just not enough at all.
You're going to Edinburgh this summer, right?
Going to Scotland, so that's the first time going overseas, and man, I feel so behind. But like, I'm so grateful. I know, I gotta stop comparing, but like I feel so grateful because that's going to be eye-opening. And then I'm hoping that there's way more experiences down the line. I really want to just be like a traveling guy or something, but Scotland's going to be world-shattering for me, and I'm very excited for that because it's just going to be completely different expectations and a different way of life that it's going to be cool as hell. Yeah.
I never personally been to Edinburgh. I have been to the UK.
Yeah.
And I'm so very excited for you that you're going to be able to get there. It's going to be definitely a very fresh and a new perspective. What another thing that I maybe want to highlight for you, what to take like notice in, and you will probably take notice in regardless, but it's just how everything is set up, how everything is, how you're able to walk to places, how you're able to get around places, how the community is, how you interact with people, and like taking notice of like how does the city move about? You know, what was the flow of the city? Because what the flow of the city in LA is like cars.
Yeah.
And like this like traffic.
Metro.
Yeah. And it's like own little like pockets. Yeah. Like thank God that the trains are like fairly okay here, you know, like, and I'm very grateful that I can take this like yellow line from Santa Monica to like whatever this like yellow line, then hop onto A, and then wherever that A line leads into the Inland Empire, and then go to the red, and like go to Hollywood, you know what I mean? Or like go to North Hollywood. And I'm grateful that we have that, but knowing that there's like so much potential, seeing this potential in plain sight is kind of like, it almost makes me want to shake because
with frustration.
It's the frustration because like we like it is possible, we are capable,
but we won't.
Why? Kind of, you know, and there are all its own like economic and political reasons to why exactly. Which, you know, is going to be too tedious to like list all of them really. But I feel like what I've noticed a lot, and I feel like my experience with LA and with LA going forward, because still it is a city to be in, right? It's one of the cities, like it's here in New York or Chicago.
Yeah.
It is still beneficial of sometimes when you are taking these, like, when you live in the places, they're just like, oh, there's like the place, you know, there's the place to like to be in, right? Like everybody wants to get to New York City.
Yeah.
And when you get to like LA, Los Angeles, the movie, the studio, the everything is big. And when you get to this place, you do understand, and when this like honeymoon of it passes, you start analyzing things from a more, you know, logical standpoint of like, and being a little bit nostalgic and being a little homesick. And when you are over that period, then you are like, okay, there is definitely like benefits that I am having from the city, which like I have met the most incredible people, including yourself.
You too, bro.
Like, oh my God.
You'd stop.
And how much everybody is driven to do and to realize themselves, and how ready they are to hustle. But also because of how city is set up, and I don't drive a car, which is like me, like probably is the problem, but which like probably maybe is the solution to all of my problems, you know. But also it takes like money, big time money, to upkeep that car, which is like, it's just like, you know, it's just a drain. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Money.
And how, because of that, of how literally the city of LA and the county of LA is set up, because of how big it is, it's because how big it is, it's advantage. Because like, oh my God, we can like ocean, mountains, like desert, like you can film like anything here, right? But it's also its disadvantage because sometimes I really don't feel like going out. Because it is almost like a prerequisite to going out. If I go out, I lose $15 automatically.
And I'm not the type of person to party. I don't want to party. So, and there's a lot of nightclub, and there's a lot of things to do, and people are always wanting to party.
Have you ever been to a rave?
No.
You should go to a rave.
I go to a rave. I don't feel any kind of want to go to a rave. I
I
want to go to a freaking film festival, man.
Film festival is great. But for rave specifically, I feel I recently started to tapping into
I may change my mind if I do go to a rave.
It's like a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
It's to the point where you feel the vibrations of the music like take over you in a more like trance like state, and you just
I may do that. I think that'd be cool to have. And I want to. I'm the kind of person where I want to have that experience. Again, I want to do something so I can be like, oh yeah, I liked it.
It may
I
not be a
hated
cup of tea.
It may not be my cup of tea,
It may
but
not
I
be a cup
want
of tea.
to. I want to try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do bring the earproof headphones with
Oh,
you.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not
if-
losing my hearing.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
don't. Bring that, experience it, and then be like,
This could be cool. This
Yeah.
may not be cool. Yeah.
because at first for me I was just like, oh, it's warehouse rats, scary,
Like,
right?
Oh shit.
But then I was like, but then I'm there, and then I'm like 15 minutes in, and I'm like, this is like
And
the
I could
best
have
thing.
a mind blowing experience. Yeah.
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 But then you're like, you're also elevated
True.
with
that
like
too. That's
alcohol,
tempting. That's tempting.
and
that could be a cool, very cool.
yeah,
Experience.
I am 22 years old, so I can
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I'm responsible.
We're-
I'm an
we're-
adult.
we're responsible.
Responsible.
We're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
People.
No need
Don't
to worry.
Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Worry not. But it is one of those things just like, oh, I kind of feel like there is its own little pocket of a community that once again is very important for us to facilitate and be a part of
Yeah.
selfishly almost. And it may not be 100%, worth our time,
Yeah.
but I feel like it is worth it because despite what a famous philosopher, Jean-Paul Sartre, said in his play No Exit, that hell is other people, I feel that while that can be true, the converse of that is that life is other people.
I don't know what to say to that. Bro, oh wow. They're probably gonna kick us out, by the way. So we
That's okay.
we
Yeah.
probably have to end it.
Yeah.
That's how we're good. That's how it's gonna end. That's crazy. On that line.
That's whatchamacallit.
Wow.
That's how I want to leave this out. Life is other people. Connect with other people. Say hello to your neighbors. Say hello to your roommates. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to your roommates. It's not always a net positive game, and that's not the kind of game we're playing. Say hi to people that you pass by, and sometimes, and it's gonna be a lot of the times where you're not gonna feel like it, and sometimes it's gonna be like hurtful, and sometimes it's gonna be like, oh, that wasn't worth it. But connecting with people is a game that is worth playing because that's how we sustain ourselves, and that's what makes the life worth living.
I got nothing to say to that. I'll end it on that.